What happens when a legendary rock icon sits down for what should be a simple interview and finds himself blindsided by a host who crosses every line imaginable? It only took 30 seconds for Denise Welch to turn a friendly chat into the most shocking moment in daytime television history. Rod Stewart walks onto the Loose Women set with that familiar, confident smile. The studio audience erupts in applause. He is wearing a sharp navy suit, his signature spiky hair perfectly styled. He waves to the crowd and takes his seat on the famous purple sofa. Sitting across from him are the Loose Women panelists. Denise Welch, the main host for this segment, sits front and center. To her left are panelists Janet Street Porter and Colleen Nolan. To her right is Kay Adams. They all smile and welcome him warmly. "Rod Stewart, everyone," Denise says, clapping her hands together. The audience continues their cheers. Rod nods graciously, settling into his seat. "Thank you for having me," Rod says, his voice warm and friendly. "It is always lovely to be here." "We are thrilled to have you," Kay says from her seat. "You look fantastic." "Thank you, darling," Rod replies with a grin. Denise leans forward slightly, holding her cue cards. "So, Rod, you have got a new album coming out. Tell us all about it." Rod lights up. Yes, it is called Time, and it is very personal to me. I wrote most of the songs myself. It is about life, love, getting older, all of those big themes." "Sounds wonderful," Colleen chimes in. "I cannot wait to hear it." "Thank you," Rod says. "I have been working on it for about 2 years. Really poured my heart into this one." Denise nods, but there is a strange glint in her eye. 2 years. That's quite a long time. Some might say too long. The other panelists exchange quick glances. Rod laughs it off. "Well, good things take time, you know." "Do they?" Denise says, her tone shifting slightly. "Or do some people just take forever because they are a bit past their prime?" The audience goes quiet. Janet shifts uncomfortably in her seat. Kay looks at Denise with wide eyes. Rod keeps his composure, but his smile tightens. "I would not say that," Rod says calmly. "I think I am creating some of my best work now." "Right," Denise says, flipping through her cards dismissively. "But let us be honest, Rod. Your last few albums have not exactly set the charts on fire, have they?" Colleen jumps in quickly. "Denise, I think what Rod is doing is brilliant. Not everything has to be about chart positions." "Thank you, Colleen," Rod says, nodding at her. Denise does not look at Colleen. She keeps her eyes locked on Rod. "I am just saying what everyone is thinking. The music industry has moved on. Maybe you should too." The tension in the studio is thick now. Janet leans forward. "Denise, come on. Our Rod is a legend. Show some respect." Denise waves her hand. "Oh, please. Just because someone had a few hits in the 70s does not mean we have to treat them like royalty forever." Rod takes a deep breath. His jaw clenches. "I have had hits in every decade since the 70s, actually." "Have you, though?" Denise fires back. "Name one from the last 10 years. Kay tries to intervene. "Denise, this is completely out of line." "I am just asking questions," Denise snaps. "Isn't that what we do here?" Rod sits up straighter. "You are not asking questions. You are being rude." "Rude?" Denise laughs. "Oh, come on. You have been in this business long enough. You should be able to handle a little criticism." "Criticism is one thing," Rod says, his voice steady but firm. "What you are doing is disrespectful." Denise leans back in her chair, crossing her arms. "Disrespectful? I am being honest. Something you clearly cannot handle." Colleen looks appalled. "Denise, stop it. This is embarrassing." "For who?" Denise shoots back. "For him? He should be embarrassed. Coming on here to promote an album nobody is going to buy." The audience gasps. Janet shakes her head. "That's enough, Denise." But Denise is not done. She turns back to Rod. And let us talk about your personal life, shall we? How many marriages is it now? 3? 4? Lost count? Rod's face hardens. My personal life is none of your business. You made it our business, Denise says with a smirk. You have been parading your wives and girlfriends around for decades. Now you want privacy? Kay looks horrified. Denise, you need to stop right now. Why? Denise says, her voice rising. Because he is some big star? He came on this show. He has to answer the questions. Rod stands up slowly. The audience is silent. Every eye in the studio is on him. I came on this show, he says, his voice calm but powerful, to talk about my music, not to be attacked by someone who clearly has some kind of personal issue with me. Denise stands up too. Personal issue. I do not have a personal issue. I just do not think you are as great as you think you are. That is fine, Rod says. You are entitled to your opinion, but you are not entitled to treat me like this. I will treat you however I want, Denise says, stepping closer. This is my show. Actually, Janet says, in standing up, it is all of our show, and you are making a fool of yourself. Denise whips around to face Janet. Stay out of this. No, Janet says firmly. You are being cruel and unprofessional. Apologize to Rod. Denise laughs bitterly. Apologize? For what? For telling the truth? Colleen stands up now too. You are not telling the truth. You are being nasty for no reason. Kay joins them. Denise, please, just stop. Denise looks around at her fellow panelists, and all standing against her. Her face flushes red. You are all taking his side? There are no sides, Colleen says. You are just wrong. Rod shakes his head. I do not need anyone to take my side. I can handle myself, but I will not sit here and be insulted. Denise points a finger at him. Then leave. Nobody is stopping you. Gladly, Rod says. He unclips his microphone and hands it to a stunned crew member. The audience watches in shock. Rod, please, Kay says, reaching out. So you do not have to go. I think I do, Rod says kindly. Thank you for trying to make this right, but I have better things to do than waste my time here. Denise scoffs. Oh, here we go. The big dramatic exit. Very rock star of you. Rod stops and turns back to her. You know what, Denise? I have been in this business for over 50 years. I have dealt with critics, hecklers, difficult people, but I have never met someone so determined to tear someone down for no reason. Whatever is going on with you, I hope you figure it out, because this, he gestures around the set, this is not okay. The studio is dead silent. Denise opens her mouth to respond, but nothing comes out. Janet, Colleen, and Kay all look at her with disappointment. Rod gives a small nod to the other panelists. Ladies, it was lovely to see you. Sorry this turned into such a mess. He turns to the audience. Thank you all for your support. It means the world. The audience begins to clap. It starts slow, but builds into thunderous applause. People are standing up. Some are shouting words of encouragement. Rod waves to them, his smile returning. Denise stands frozen, watching as the audience gives Rod a standing ovation. Her face is a mixture of anger and humiliation. Janet leans over to her. Happy now? Denise does not answer. She just stares at the floor. Rod walks off the set. The camera follows him as he heads toward the exit. A producer rushes up to him, trying to talk. But Rod just pats him on the shoulder and keeps walking. Back on the set, Kay tries to regain control. Well, we are going to take a quick break. Her voice is shaky. The camera cuts, but the audience is still buzzing. People are talking amongst themselves, pointing at Denise. She sits back down, her arms crossed tightly. Colleen leans toward her. What were you thinking? I was just doing my job, Denise mutters. That was not your job, Colleen says. That was cruel. Janet nods. You crossed a line, Denise. A big one. Oh, give it a rest, Denise snaps. He is fine. He has dealt with worse. That is not the point, Kay says quietly. You should not have done that. Denise stands up abruptly. I need some air. She walks off the set, leaving the other three sitting there. Janet looks at Colleen. That was awful. Absolutely awful, Colleen agrees. Kay shakes her head. I cannot believe she did that. Rod was so lovely, and she just attacked him. For no reason, Janet adds. He did not deserve any of that. Meanwhile, Rod is in the hallway backstage. A few crew members approach him, apologizing. He is gracious, telling them it is not their fault. These things happen, he says with a shrug. I have been through worse. One of the producers, a young woman, looks near tears. I am so sorry, Mr. Stewart. That should never have happened. It is okay, love, Rod says kindly. Do not worry about it. But she was so rude, the producer says. Yes, she was, Rod agrees. But that is her problem, not mine. I will be just fine. He gives her a reassuring smile and heads toward the exit. His manager is waiting for him by the door, looking furious. What the hell was that? His manager says. Rod sighs. Your guess is as good as mine. She had it out for me from the start. We should complain, his manager says. That was unacceptable. No, Rod says firmly. Let it go. I am not going to give her any more of my time or energy. But Rod, his manager protests. I said let it go, Rod repeats. I have a new album to promote. I will find other places to do it. Places where people actually want to hear what I have to say. His manager nods reluctantly. All right, if that is what you want. It is, Rod says. He pushes open the door and steps outside. The fresh air hits his face, and he takes a deep breath. Back inside, the other panelists are still on set. The break is ending soon, and they need to figure out what to say when they come back on air. Should we address it? Colleen asks. We have to, Janet says. The audience saw everything. We cannot just pretend it did not happen, Kay nods. But what do we say? The truth, Janet says. That Denise was out of line, and we apologize on behalf of the show. She is going to be furious, Colleen says. I do not care, Janet says firmly. What she did was wrong, and we all know it. The floor manager counts them back in. 3, 2, 1. The camera is live again. Kay takes the lead. Welcome back. As you all saw, we just had a very difficult moment on the show. Janet jumps in. Rod Stewart left because he was treated very poorly, and we want to apologize to him and to all of you watching. Colleen nods. Rod is a consummate professional and a lovely man. He did not deserve what happened here today. The audience claps again. Kay looks directly at the camera. We hope Rod knows that we have the utmost respect for him and his incredible career. Absolutely, Janet adds. And we are sorry that his time on our show ended the way it did. They wrap up the segment quickly and move on to the next topic, but the damage is done. The energy in the studio is off. The audience is still murmuring. The other panelists look shaken. Denise finally returns near the end of the show. She sits down quietly, not saying a word. The other panelists barely look at her. When the show ends and the cameras stop rolling, the atmosphere is ice cold. Colleen stands up first. I need to leave. She does not look at Denise. Janet follows. Same. Kay lingers for a moment, then shakes her head and walks away too. Denise sits alone on the purple sofa. The audience has cleared out. The crew is packing up equipment. She stares at the spot where Rod was sitting, her expression unreadable. A producer approaches her cautiously. Denise, we need to talk. Not now, Denise says, waving her away. It is important, the producer insists. I said not now, Denise snaps. The producer backs off, exchanging worried looks with other crew members. Denise finally stands up and walks off the set. Her heels click loudly against the floor. No one tries to stop her, and no one says goodbye. Outside, Rod is already in his car. His manager is on the phone, calling other shows to line up new interview opportunities. They all want you, his manager says, covering the phone. Everyone wants to talk to you after what just happened. Rod smiles slightly. See? Silver lining. You handled that incredibly well, his manager says. Keeping your cool like that, a lot of people would have lost it. I have learned over the years, Rod says, looking out the window. Getting angry only makes things worse. Better to take the high road. Still, his manager says, she had no right. No, she did not, Rod agrees, but I am not going to let her ruin my day. I have too much to be grateful for. The car pulls away from the studio. Rod settles back in his seat, already thinking about his next interview, his next performance, his next chapter. Back in the studio, the other panelists gather in the green room. They are still processing what happened. I have never seen anything like that, Colleen says, sitting down heavily. Neither have I, Kay says, and I have been doing this for years. Janet pours herself some water. She completely lost it. I do not know what got into her. Whatever it was, Colleen says, it was not professional, not even close. They sit in silence for a moment, each replaying the confrontation in their minds. Do you think Rod is okay? Kay asks. He seemed okay when he left, Janet says. But still, that must have been horrible for him. He was so gracious about it, Colleen says. Even when she was being awful, he kept his composure. That is the difference between a real professional and, Janet pauses, well, whatever Denise was today. Kay sighs. I just hope this does not reflect badly on all of us. We tried to stop her. The audience saw that, Colleen reassures her. They know we were on Rod's side. Still, Kay says, this is going to be everywhere. The tabloids are going to have a field day. She is right. Within hours, clips of the confrontation are all over social media. Headlines scream about the shocking moment. Rod Stewart's name is trending. So is Denise Welch's, but for all the wrong reasons. People are furious with Denise. Comments flood in calling her rude, unprofessional, and mean. Meanwhile, Rod gets an outpouring of support. Fans old and new rally behind him. One tweet reads, Rod Stewart handled that with such class. What a legend. Another says, Denise Welch should be ashamed of herself. That was disgusting to watch. The consensus is clear. Rod is the hero of this story. Denise is the villain. At his home that evening, Rod is relaxing with a cup of tea. His phone has been buzzing nonstop with messages of support. He scrolls through a few, smiling at the kind words. His wife comes into the room. How are you feeling? She asks. I'm fine, Rod says. Really, it was unpleasant, but I am over it. Everyone is talking about it, she says. You are all over the news. I know, Rod says, but at least people are talking about my album now. So in a weird way, it worked out. She laughs. Only you could find the positive in this. What else can you do? Rod says with a shrug. Life is too short to dwell on negative people. You are a better person than me, she says. I would still be angry. I was angry, Rod admits, for about 5 minutes. Then I realized she is not worth it. Meanwhile, Denise is at home too, but her evening is very different. Her phone is blowing up as well, but not with support. It is message after message of criticism. She reads a few and then throws her phone across the room. She paces back and forth. She's replaying the interview in her head. Part of her wants to believe she was justified, but deep down, she knows she was not. Her publicist calls. We need to do damage control, the publicist says urgently. She paces back and forth, replaying the interview in her head. Part of her wants to believe she was justified, but deep down, she knows she was not. Her publicist calls. "We need to do damage control," the publicist says urgently. "Like what?" Denise asks. "An apology," the publicist says. "Publicly, as soon as possible." "I am not apologizing," Denise says stubbornly. "Denise, you have to," the publicist insists. "This is bad. Really bad. If you do not apologize, it is only going to get worse." Denise hesitates. She hates the idea of apologizing. It feels like admitting defeat. But she also knows her publicist is right. "Fine," she says finally. "I will think about it." "Do not think too long," the publicist warns. "Every minute you wait, this gets bigger." They hang up. Denise sits down on her couch, burying her face in her hands. She knows she messed up. She knows she let her emotions get the better of her. But admitting it out loud feels impossible. Outside the studio, reporters are already gathering. Word has spread fast about the confrontation. Paparazzi wait by the exits, hoping to catch Rod or Denise. Rod's car has already left, but Denise is still inside. A producer knocks on her dressing room door. "Denise." "Oh, there are reporters outside. You might want to use the back exit." Denise opens the door. Her makeup is smudged. "I am not hiding," she says defiantly. "I really think you should," the producer says gently. "It is pretty intense out there." Denise pushes past her. "I said I am not hiding." She walks through the corridors toward the front exit. Staff members avoid eye contact with her. Some whisper as she passes. She pretends not to notice, but her jaw is clenched. When she steps outside, cameras flash immediately. Reporters shout questions. "Denise, why did you treat Rod Stewart that way? Do you regret what you said? Will you apologize?" Denise puts on her sunglasses and pushes through the crowd. No comment. "But Denise," one reporter persists. "People are calling for you to be fired. What do you say to that?" She stops and turns. "I was doing my job. That is all I have to say." She gets into her waiting car and slams the door. The driver pulls away quickly. Inside the car, Denise finally lets her composure crack. She closes her eyes and leans back against the seat. Her phone rings. It is her agent. She ignores it. It rings again. Still, she does not answer. Text messages start flooding in. She turns the phone off completely. Back at the studio, the other panelists are preparing to leave. They gather their things quietly. "Should we check on Denise?" Colleen asks. Janet shakes her head. "I do not think that is a good idea right now." "But she is our colleague," Colleen says. "She is," Kay agrees. "But she also just humiliated all of us on national television. I need some space before I can even think about talking to her." Janet sighs. "Look, I am sure Denise is going through something. People do not just snap like that for no reason. But right now, I am more concerned about Rod and about the show's reputation." They all nod in agreement. They leave through separate exits, avoiding the media circus at the front. The next morning, the story is still dominating headlines. Every major news outlet has covered it. Talk shows are discussing it. Radio hosts are weighing in. It is the biggest entertainment story of the week. One headline reads, "Rod Stewart walks out after brutal attack by loose women host." Another says, "Denise Welch under fire for shocking on-air behavior." Social media is ablaze. Hashtags trend worldwide. Yet people share their opinions endlessly. Rod does an interview with another morning show. The host, a friendly woman in her 40s, greets him warmly. "Rod, thank you so much for being here," she says. "My pleasure," Rod says, settling into the guest chair. "I think we have to address what happened yesterday," the host says carefully. "The whole world saw it." Rod nods. "Yes, it was quite a moment." "You handled it with such grace," the host says. "Can you tell us what was going through your mind?" Rod takes a breath. "Honestly, I was shocked at first. I did not expect to be treated that way. but I have been in this business a long time. You learn that some people, for whatever reason, want to bring you down. You cannot let them. It must have been hurtful, though, the host says. Of course, Rod admits. Nobody likes to be attacked, especially when you have done nothing to deserve it. But I refuse to let one person's negativity define my day or my life. That's a wonderful attitude, the host says. Were you tempted to fight back? To say something harsh in return? For a split second, maybe, Rod says with a small smile. But then I thought, what would that accomplish? It would just make me look as bad as she did. So I took the high road. And the high road led you right out the door, the host says. Rod laughs. Yes, it did. Sometimes the best response is to simply remove yourself from a toxic situation. Very wise, the host says. Now, let us talk about your new album, because that is what you were supposed to talk about yesterday, before things went off the rails. Yes, please, Rod says, visibly relaxing. That is why I came on television in the first place. They spend the next 10 minutes discussing the album. Rod talks about the songs, the inspiration, the recording process, and he is animated and passionate. The host is genuinely interested, asking thoughtful questions. This sounds like a really personal project, the host says. It is, Rod agrees. Every album is personal in some way, but this one especially. I am at a point in my life where I am reflecting a lot on where I have been, where I am going. This album is that reflection put to music. Beautiful, the host says. And for anyone who wants to support you after what happened yesterday, where can they find the album? It is out next week, Rod says. Available everywhere. Physical copies, digital, streaming, however people like to listen. We will all be buying it, the host says. The studio audience claps enthusiastically. Thank you, Rod says, genuinely touched. When the interview ends, the host stands and gives Rod a hug. You are a class act, she whispers. Thank you for having me, Rod says. This is how interviews should be. The interview is a hit. People love Rod even more. His album sales spike. His upcoming tour dates sell out. What could have been a disaster has turned into a triumph. Denise, on the other hand, is facing serious consequences. The network calls a meeting. Producers, executives, and her fellow panelists all gather. The mood is grim. What you did was unacceptable, one executive says bluntly. It reflected poorly on the show and on this network. Denise sits quietly, her arms crossed. We have received thousands of complaints, another executive says. Viewers are threatening to boycott the show. Advertisers are concerned. Janet speaks up. We all tried to stop her during the interview. We did everything we could. We know, the executive says, and we appreciate that, but this is still a major problem. They turn back to Denise. You need to issue a public apology, not just to Rod Stewart, but to the audience. Denise finally speaks. So, and if I do not? The executive does not blink. Then, we will have to consider other options. The threat hangs in the air. Denise knows what that means. Her job is on the line. Fine, she says quietly. I will apologize. That afternoon, Denise releases a statement on social media. It is short and vague. I apologize for my behavior on yesterday's show. It was not my finest moment. The response is mixed. Some people accept it. Others say it is not enough. And it does not mention Rod by name. It does not explain why she acted the way she did. It feels half-hearted. Rod sees the apology, but does not respond publicly. Privately, he tells his manager, it is too little, too late, but at least she said something. His manager agrees. Do you want to respond? No, Rod says. Let it go. I have moved on. And he has. Rod continues promoting his album. He does more interviews, all of which go smoothly. He performs on television shows. He connects with fans. The loose women incident becomes a footnote, a moment that showed his character rather than damaged it. For Denise, the fallout lasts much longer. Her reputation takes a hit. Viewers do not forget. Fellow panelists keep their distance. The network watches her closely, waiting for any sign of another outburst. In the end, one 30-second moment changed everything. It showed the world who Rod Stewart really is. A professional, a gentleman, someone who refuses to stoop to someone else's level. And it showed who Denise was in that moment. Someone who let her ego and her emotions cloud her judgment. Rod's album goes on to be a success. His tour is celebrated. His legacy grows even stronger. He proves that grace under pressure is more powerful than any comeback or retort. Denise learns a hard lesson about respect, about professionalism, and about the consequences of letting anger take control. Whether she truly takes that lesson to heart remains to be seen. But for Rod Stewart, the legendary rock icon, this was just another chapter in a long and storied career. A chapter where he walked away with his head held high, his dignity intact, and the support of millions behind him. And that is the mark of a true legend.